All right. Welcome to Coffee with Marcus and Mark, the number one stock market show on Spotify and one of the most popular market updates on YouTube. In this show, we talk about what's happening in the markets and how we are trading them. Today is Tuesday, June 18th. The S&P and NASDAQ make new highs again. Retail sales come out weaker than expected. Is that a concern? We'll take a look. Yields are sliding. Semiconductors rally while NVDA makes a new all-time high, plus a record-breaking day for many S&P 500 stocks. We'll look at a few. And can I sell calls on my Halliburton position? We'll take a look at the calls available and what I decided to do today, as well as a couple of WTF trades. As you can see, there's a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and get started. If this is your first time here, my name is Mark Hodge. I'm head coach at Rockwell Trading, and Marcus is still having fun traveling in Europe. So I said, you know what, I have today covered, and I am going to be running the show solo. But we'll be back here on Thursday after the U.S. market holiday tomorrow and talking about trading together once again. But with that said, let's go ahead, get to the chart, see what's going on in these crazy markets. And I have the S&P 500 up yesterday, quite a day. Let's actually look at a 5-minute chart here because the day started out pretty quiet, just kind of flirting around with the previous day's highs or sorry, the previous day's close, which was Friday. So a little bit lower, getting up there, and then started to break through the close of Friday and drift higher. A rally during the lunch session into the afternoon. There was a little bit of a pullback going into the close, but just kind of a nice drift higher yesterday. Out of the blue, nothing really holding back the market, and new records if we look at daily chart for the S&P 500. So S&P 500 yesterday closing at 5473. The Dow had a higher day as well, but a little more muted compared to the S&P and NASDAQ, still not at records. And then you have the NASDAQ yesterday following suit, actually up more than the S&P, up 1% yesterday, closing at a new record of 17,857. Today, we're a little bit flat, a little bit quiet. Overall, the economic calendar is a little bit light, but we did see some interesting retail sales data come out. Let's go ahead and move over to PowerX Optimizer. Look at the economic calendar, and we see that core retail sales came in at minus 0.1%. The forecast was an increase of 0.2%. That minus 0.1 was in line with the previous reading, but the forecast higher than what actually was the result there. Now, retail sales came in with an increase of 0.1%, but this was lower than the 0.3% expected, better than the previous month, but definitely worse than expected and worse than analysts expected. So is this a bad thing? Is this a concern for us? Well, it could mean that consumers are not spending as much, and sometimes we have a bad news is good news type situation. If we look here, yields were falling today. The 10-year yield is down, and if we go to a 5-minute chart, we see that a lot of this drop came after that retail sales news. So yields were sliding when we had that data released. We see that the 5-year yield was down, the 2-year yield was down. We could look at the E-mini S&P and see what happened looking at futures since the report came out pre-market. You see that there was a positive reaction, and we've pulled back since. So a little bit of a spike higher, so that was good for the market. Yields were lower and not really rebounding like we saw that opposite reaction eventually with futures. So is this a bad thing? Well, if retailers aren't spending as much, it does support the Fed cutting rates sooner. And it's just one report. There's still a lot to take in here before the next Fed meeting. But we could take a look at the Fed funds futures and the probability tool here. We'll go to probabilities, and we see here that rate cut is expected not at the July meeting, but at the September meeting, and then also at the December meeting. So right now the market's pricing in 2 cuts, and a pretty high probability that we'll see that first one in September, at least based on Fed funds futures right now. And then that we'll get one in December. So we'll have to see. That was, going from 1 to 2 event, early on it was more cuts than that, but right now traders are counting on 2 cuts. So let's go back to PowerX Optimizer and let's just take a look at the heat map, see where these gains or losses are distributed. And you see here that if we look at the S&P 500, there's even though it's a mixed day, there's a decent amount of green. We see NVIDIA making a new record. And look at this. AMD's down, but Qualcomm's up 3%. We have a Micron up 5%. So semiconductors on the move. Oil and gas also on the move. If we look at some of the oil and gas stocks, actually, let's go back to all. We see that a lot of green in oil and gas. But let's go back to NVIDIA here, because NVIDIA, and let me just slide over here, go to a daily. We're going to take a peek here. Because NVIDIA down yesterday, even though the market was higher and we were making some new highs in the S&P and NASDAQ, NVIDIA was down 0.7%. But today, right now, if we were to end the day where we're at, it would be a new record for NVIDIA, up 1.9% today after that 10-for-1 split. We see here that if we close at these levels, it would be a new record. But NVIDIA isn't alone. We could look at BKNG booking holdings. Look at this at 39.82. Now, this is a new record going back to the IPO date of April 1999. So a new record for booking. We could also look at Chipotle. CMG is the ticker. CMG up 1.6%, 34.19. And we do have a split coming. So a 50-for-1 split for CMG. So it seems like these higher priced stocks are finally interested in doing some splits. Fundamentally, it doesn't change anything, but having lower price stocks sometimes is a good thing for the average investor and maybe getting included in certain indices. But here we see that nonetheless, CMG up, making a new record going back to its IPO date of January 2006. We also have Hilton, HLT, just making a new record high here. We'll see where it closes. This would be going back to December 2013 when it IPO'd. We could look at Tractor Supply. Tractor Supply pulling back a little bit, but this one made a new record going back to December of 1985 when it IPO'd. Walmart making a new record high, trading at levels that are higher than when it first started trading on the New York Stock Exchange in August of 1972. We could look at Micron. Look at Micron go up 4.6 today. Micron trading at all-time highs going back to its IPO date of June 1984. And then 2 more I wanted to show. Oracle making highs going back to its IPO date of March 1986. Qualcomm doing the exact same. Look at this. Big gap for Qualcomm, up 2.7%. Trading at all-time highs going back to its IPO of September 1991. So history books getting some new entries with new record highs for a bunch of companies in the S&P 500. Now, let's take a look at some open positions. And I still have CSIQ, so does Marcus. We also have UPS. So we're holding these 2 positions. Halliburton is one that I entered recently, and I own shares at 34.50. So I was able to collect some premium on the put side. I got assigned. I was able to collect some premium on the call side. Those calls expired worth. Actually bought the calls back for 92% of the max profit. And I was looking at selling 34.50 calls today. So let's go ahead and let's pop on over to PowerX Optimizer here. And we could look at our wheel calculator. So at the 34.50, if I was to look at this Friday's expiration, June 21st, looking at 34.50, I would need 12 cents in premium if I were to get 30% annualized. And it was around that level. But I decided, especially without a whole lot of data coming out this week. Next week, it gets a little more active. We have core PCE next Thursday, and with markets being closed tomorrow, I decided instead of looking at this Friday to go out another week, so to go out to June 28th instead. And here we could see the premium that's available. So right now, 34.50. It the bid's 24 cents, the offer's 28, and that would be 23 cents ROI based on the premium collected and the time to this expiration. So we get 30% annualized at the 34 strike. Right now, we would have 23% annualized at the 34.50. However, I put in an order when I saw Halliburton starting to move higher. It was a slow grind higher, and this is where at the open, when there's price discovery, traders are trying to figure out what's going to happen during the day. You get these higher premiums, which is nice. And then what you're hoping for, if you don't have enough premium to sell at the open and collect it because of that extra volatility, you're hoping that the stock moves higher. But if it's a slow move higher, it is possible that it's going the direction that you want, but there isn't enough volatility to see those options increase. And so I wanted to put in what we call a fishing order. And this is where that order is right where we want to be in case we get that pop. I put in an order for 35 cents, which was slightly better than 30% annualized. I mean, for a stock that I own at 34.50, getting 35 cents going out to next Friday, that works for me. This is 33% annualized, and I was able to get filled there. Halliburton, if I look at June 28th expiration, 34.50. Actually, the high of the day was 35 cents. So that fishing order worked out perfectly for me, and I nailed the high of the day at least so far. Halliburton pulling back to its open. It got as high as 33.92, right now trading at 33.62. So we'll see what happens, but I like that 35 cents and selling calls again, but this time going out to next Friday. So that's what I did with Halliburton. I believe Marcus was looking to do the same thing. I don't know if Marcus was filled, but I was able to get that with a fishing order. Now, if we go back to PowerX Optimizer and we look at WTF trades, win the fear. We did have a few exits. So AXP was one that both Marcus and I traded. And AXP, we actually got in at a lower entry point here. And the exit this morning at the open, 227.58, made a couple bucks on this one. So a nice winning trade in AXP. Citigroup was a signal that occurred a couple of days ago. Marcus and I, we did not trade Citigroup. Today we had an exit. Based on the open when that signal occurred, because it gapped higher, probably had a small loss on an exit unless you got a better fill or waited for it to pull back. And open below entry trade would have been great with this one. But I did not take this. Marcus did not. Today we did have an exit though. MetLife was one both Marcus and I traded yesterday, and a nice one-day trade. So opened yesterday at 68.78. That was the entry signal. Today, 69.27. Small win, but a nice one-day trade. I'll take that. These are the fun ones where you get in, you get out, make a little money, and then you can get into some new trades. And we did have new trades that we were looking at today. Moderna, mRNA, popped up on the list. Now, I took this trade, but Marcus did not. So I got into this one. Marcus, he said, this one still is a little wild for him. So he used some discretion and said, not for him, not for him. But maybe he was right. Maybe he's wrong. We do not have an exit yet. But this is one that I own shares on, and we will see what the outcome is. See if Marcus was right with his discretion or if he missed out on a winner. We'll just have to wait and see. Verizon was a new entry signal, and both Marcus and I took this one. It opened at 39.71. Right now, up a little bit here. Marcus decided that he did like this. I liked it as well. So right now, I have Verizon open, and then I also have AIG, RTX, and MO that I got into yesterday. MO, a nice move higher yesterday, but no exit signal yet. So I have a few open WTF trades, win the fear trades, and now looking for exits. So, taking a look at the economic calendar here, we see that tomorrow, bank holiday, no trading. Thursday, unemployment claims is that red flag report. Weekly unemployment claims. We know we could have a little reactions to the market. Traders hoping that unemployment claims are a little bit higher to support the Fed cutting rates sooner. We'll have to see if there's a reaction there. And then on Friday, we have manufacturing PMI and services PMI. This can be a wild card, but for the most part, this week should be pretty quiet. And then if we look at next week, it's a quiet start, but then consumer confidence on Tuesday, new home sales on Wednesday, final GDP unemployment claims on Thursday, but we have this core PCE. I think I said earlier in this video that it was on Thursday. It's actually on Friday of next week. This is the Fed's favorite measure of inflation. So this can definitely be something that gets the markets moving a little bit, and that would be on Friday. So a little more activity on the economic calendar. Right now, if we see what's going on in the markets just flat, not a lot of volatility, just quiet right now as we wait for the next impetus, the next reason to move. Maybe it will move after dad joke. You never know. Oh gosh, on Friday, we had a fun time on Friday. We had a great time in Barcelona. It was so fun to have 2 weeks there working with our mastermind members. I mean, just a great group, but a great city too if you've never been. And then I got Marcus laughing on Friday, so that was a lot of fun. I know that he's not here to laugh, and I hope I win the dad joke battle today, since it's uncontested. Not a trading joke, but a true dad joke. Why was the mushroom invited to the party? Because he was a fun guy. So I hope Marcus doesn't watch this, but I have to give away some of my secrets here, because while I was in Barcelona, Rainer and Bridget, two great people, mastermind members, they gave me this. So I have a little secret stash of dad jokes now that are probably going to be awful, but I thank them for that anyway. Hope you like the video. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like the dad joke, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the dad joke, please give the video a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel and you can deal with dad jokes, but really like their analysis, what's going on in the markets, and sharing some of the trades that we have to take, then please give the video a thumbs up and feel free to subscribe so you're notified when we have new videos. With that said, no video tomorrow with markets being closed. We'll see you back here on Thursday. And until then, happy trading, everybody.